ये बहुत अच्छा यूनिवर्सिटी है। अभी वो एक मैडम का हुआ है, उसी से बात करूंगा।
Very good morning to all in one present here. We regret to disturb you on your Sundays. So, because of some uncertain reasons, we could not take two sessions. So today we are having these two sessions. So, with your permission, Dr. Rana sir, can we start with the session? So please unmute yourself. Unmute yourself. Sir, am I audible to you? Am I audible to you?
Yes, sir, you are audible, sir.
Yes, sir. We'll just give a brief introduction and we'll just start, sir.
Okay.
A very warm welcome to all the participants and our dear resource person on the 15 days online refresher course on teaching pedagogy in legal studies, commerce, and social sciences. Today, as we are witnessing, is the 13th day, which we are having for our 15 days refresher course. Today, for the first session, we have Dr. Rana Navneet Roy, Associate Professor, Hidayatullah National Law University, Raipur. Sir will be talking about building an ethical environment in the legal research. Over to you, sir. And thank you for accepting our invitation on Sunday.
Thank you, sir, for your nice introduction. Good morning to one and all present here. And I wish at the outset that this talk would be interactive one. And I always feel privileged when to get an opportunity to interact with faculty members. I presume since it is a refresher course, so most of the participants are faculty members teaching law or any subject in one or different university or legal institutions or any institutions of repute. So it is always very nice to interact and to know the challenges faced by the teachers. And since the very theme of this online refresher course is very relevant, and the theme which has been assigned to me, or you can say the theme which I chose, is really very relevant and debatable, wherein we would be talking about building an ethical research in building an ethical environment in legal research. So friends, I presume I am audible and visible both. Can anyone tell?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine.
Yes,
thank
sir.
you. So can I note some information, 2-3 information, that this interdisciplinary refresher course in which participants are from different disciplines. Am I right?
So major of the participants are from law, but there are some participants who are from commerce and social sciences background.
Very good. So most of them are faculty members only, na?
Yes, sir. All of them are faculty members.
All of them are faculty members. Very good. Thank you. So that is what I wanted to know. So since we all are faculty, and it is always really very dignified kind of situation when a faculty member is interacting with faculty member. So this is a most dignified situation in our profession when we are interacting, because most of the time we are interacting with the students. Sometimes authorities interacting with the academics, sometimes an expert from different field interacting with the faculty members. But since here we all are faculty members, so this would be really great. So friend, let us start discussing some aspects of building an ethical environment in legal research. So nowadays, whenever we are talking about research, we confront with some situations wherein we think that it is a research which is in line of science and other background where technology is very much involved. The research in science is really very much different from the research in social science, because in science we starting research in different way. We are doing our research in laboratory. We are inventing some new kind of innovations or some inventions which is giving directly benefit to the society. That's why they are considering science researcher as a researcher, but sometimes we are not getting that kind of status in the society, in the governance, everywhere, being a legal researcher. So what is the problem in that? What should be done? What are the lacunas on these some aspects we would be discussing, since it is, I think, 13th days of your refresher course. So many aspects you already come to know by this time. So we would be discussing something which is which comes in my mind and which is from general perspective. In science research, when we are coming out with certain outcome that is becoming very popular. In legal research, most of the time we are doing doctrinal research. Very less time we are taking empirical kind of research, where we are not getting that kind of exact data from the person who is involved directly in those situations. But in theoretical research, whatever we are doing, sometimes that is not giving that kind of impact to the society. That's why they are not taking us in that way what they are taking the science researcher and other researcher. So with this background, if we start discussing that what is needed and what is lacking in legal research. So if we compare the kind of outcome which we the Indian legal researcher have contributed towards the legal fraternity at world, then we will find that it is really very less outcome that has gone from the Indian researcher side or Indian, if we see output based on certain research or based on, means in broad way we see what are the outcomes from legal side. If you see either from the judiciary, from the academics, from the governance, from any side, most of the time you find that we are adopting something from West. We are adopting something from common law countries. Either it is case law based or something else. In environmental law, in any other field, court, contract, everywhere we find that we are borrowing something. But at very this time, we will see that we are contributing something to world community. So in that way, we are looking very much. You might be remembering the very important and celebrated case. Please mute everyone, because this is an online forum where no doubt there will be open discussion. As and when you are asking anything, you are interacting, please unmute your mic and speak something. But right now, since I am speaking, if you all are speaking, it will be tough to understand, to interact. And my one point, there is one very important point which I always tell in my introduction, that if anyhow we are giving our some time in some discussion, either attending classes, participating in some discussion, so anyhow our time is going to be lapsed. So we have to think whether time would be wasted or time would be utilized. So what is the problem if we utilize this time? Because time is very precious. Whether we are attending offline classes or online classes, time is always precious. We have to honor the time. If we would honor the time, time would honor us. So time is most powerful thing. For that, everyone should be having a kind of respect. So with this note, we would be proceeding. What I was saying, that if we see law of tort, a very famous, fantastic, most celebrated landmark case is Ryland versus Fletcher, by which a strict liability doctrine has come into picture. We also adopted a strict liability principle, where if someone is involving certain dangerous substances, and if that substance is spreading, in that condition, if there is harm, then the liability would be based on a strict liability, means strictly the wrongdoer, the person who is possessor of those circumstances, could be liable. But even a strict liability is subject to certain exceptions. So that doctrine was going well for about not only 100 years, even still this doctrine is relevant. But yes, our Supreme Court of India has gone a step away from that strict liability principle while they were propounding the doctrine of absolute liability. Because in absolute liability, exceptions would not be available. The exceptions which were available in a strict liability principle that was evolved in the case of Ryland versus Fletcher, like act of God, third party, involvement of the third party, like that there were 5 exceptions. So these exceptions are not available. Means apart from that exception, so the liability would be what? Strictly and absolutely liable. So sometimes confusingly we are thinking that absolute liability doctrine has abolished the strict liability doctrine, but it is not like that. It is the extension of a strict liability principle, because person would be strictly as well as absolutely liable. So what I want to say, that our contribution is absolute liability principle. So if in that way, if you take some example that what we have contributed, because contribution is not only possible by judiciary. Whenever judiciary is giving judgment, they are giving judgment based on the research done by both sides lawyers. Lawyers are doing research, and sometime while presenting the plaint, while giving some argument, they are making some legal research done by the legal academics as basis. So our research is not only going to our classroom. Whenever we talk about research or ethics in research or ethics in legal research, whatever it may be, then we must know about certain concept that why research is needed. There is a lot of confusion even amongst the academics. I'm not talking about only researcher or only PhD scholar, that research is needed to do PhD. Some persons might be having opinion that research is needed to do MPhil. Some person may think beyond that, that research is needed for doing some or for pursuing some postdoctoral kind of research, postdoctoral fellowship. But research is highly needed more than that. Even when we are going to classroom, so in order to make our discussion very fruitful, in order to make our discussion very relevant, or in order to inculcate a kind of interest amongst the students, we must do certain research over the topic which we are going to cover today. It should not only be the statutory provisions or the provisions given under that topics and judgment given by the court based on that provision. It should be more than that. We should see that whether any commission has been appointed by the government of India on that topic, what has been the recommendation of that commission, whether there is any convention on that point by any international body, is there any protocol, is there something from international scholar, what are the critics, what are the criticism of that provision, whether court in any judgment has committed error, or is there a provision or is there a situation where minority judgment sounds well in comparison to the majority judgment. Sometimes ratio decidendi is, or ratio decidendi seems to be weak, and other observation passed by the court becomes very popular, becomes very important, having some basis. So we need to go to that extent also, that what are the ratio decidendi of the case, what are the obiter dicta of that case, what are the minority opinion. Sometimes minority opinion becomes a majority opinion in subsequent cases. That happened in so many judgments where Justice Hidayatullah, under whose name my university where I am working is named, Hidayatullah National Law University. So Justice Hidayatullah comes from this region, and he held the position of Chief Justice of India, Vice President, and President of India, all important positions. So he gave minority judgment in some cases. Later on, that becomes majority judgment. So that is also something which is to be viewed, which is something to be searched. So research is important, particularly for the academicians, for doing their MPhil, PhD, post-PhD, whatever kind of degree which we are acquiring based on the research. No doubt that is there. But our every class should be based on some research. Whenever we are writing some pieces of any kind of literature that is going to be published either in the research journal or popular article published in any magazine, newspaper, or somewhere, that article should be based on the research. There is a misnomer sometime in the legal academics, in the academic fraternity, that research article is nothing but compilation of certain materials from certain sources. So it is not the research article. Research article should be article where we have to survey the literature. We have to do the literature review. What literatures are available, what they are saying, how they are relevant, and what and a particular topic, what is the gap, what is not there in the present legal literature, and in what way your research article is going to contribute the legal academics or legal fraternity or to fulfill that gap. So that is very much needed to be discussed when we are writing some research article. Not only that, whenever we are presenting a paper in a seminar, conference, or symposium, that is also legal, that is also research paper. That's why there is a huge difference between delivering a lecture by a motivational speaker or delivering something, a speech by the politicians, and presenting a research paper in seminar. That's why you might have read in the newspaper when there is an international conference going on somewhere, that the researcher has read his research paper. Research paper is to be read. And by reading research paper, you are telling the gathering about your outcome of your research. So that is the presenting paper in the seminar, that is also research based. So whenever we are talking research, this broad canvas should be there in our mind. One more thing which I wanted to emphasize, that sometimes we are thinking that research is nothing but research. Means whatever has already been searched, we are going to research. Means फिर से search कर लेना है. So that is not, no doubt, we will be searching and searching. There would be research, RE-SEARCH, research. But it is not simply researching. It is fulfilling the gap. What kind of contribution we are going to give towards our research. So in that broad canvas, we have to see that what kind of ethics is required in legal research. So first of all, whenever we are starting any kind of research, and particularly if there is PhD research, then we have to be more conscious, because either as a researcher, because some of us participating in today's refresher course might be pursuing their PhD simultaneously with the teaching also, because in our country, PhD is not must. In 2018 UGC regulation, PhD degree has been made mandatory to become assistant professor. It means for starting a career from the assistant professor itself, PhD was made mandatory in 2018 regulation, with some relaxation period, cooling period that was given, that for next 2 years or something, a particular period of time, PhD criteria would be relaxed. Then COVID-19 came, and after that, in the name of COVID-19, it was relaxed for some more time. And from this year, 2023 July, it was supposed to become mandatory, but finally, permanently, UGC has relaxed this criteria, PhD criteria, and now a person can become an academician, can become permanent assistant professor without PhD degree. It means on the basis of either NET or JRF or both, whatever, with post-graduation degree with 55% marks. Obviously, some research paper may also be needed by some institution. This is the requirement. It means without PhD also we can pursue our job. We can pursue our teaching profession. That's why I presume that some of us may be pursuing PhD. And if we are not pursuing PhD, then obviously we must be supervising PhD. So in PhD particularly, we need to be very conscious whether we are researcher, it means we are research scholar, or we are the supervisor of a PhD research scholar, because there is a regulation guiding or regulating the PhD degree. That regulation comes from UGC itself, For that, there is a mandate that plagiarism level should be less than a particular percentage. Generally, it is 10% in most of the institutions. Most of the, again, from 10 to 20%, there is a criteria that how to go ahead. More than that, there may be, you may be said to resubmit your PhD thesis after rework. So 10%, up to 10%, up to 20%, up to 30%, there are 3 bits. So accordingly, as per the regulation, we have to go ahead. So it is mandatory, it is binding, not on the PhD research scholar, but on the PhD guide as well. And being a guide, more onus lies on our soldiers than PhD scholar, particularly compliance of the ethical issues, including the minimum similarity index, that is the plagiarism level. So that is also required to be maintained. But one thing which is very essential at this juncture when we are discussing about plagiarism, that sometime what happens that in the name of plagiarism free thesis, sometime we are allowing a very third class, very less qualitative, a very cheap, having very cheap content in the thesis, and we are allowing that this is having less than 10% plagiarism level. So having less plagiarism is a different thing, is a good thing, that work is not plagiarized, that is good thing. But at the same time, 100 times more important than this would be the ensuring the quality in PhD thesis, because it would, the level of legal research would go down if we will not see the quality, whether we are working in any capacity. We, the faculty members, are sometimes pursuing PhD, then we are PhD scholar. Sometimes we are guiding PhD scholar, then we are supervisor. Sometimes we are evaluating the PhD thesis, then we are the evaluator of the PhD thesis. This is the third kind of capacity which we are doing. And fourth one, that coming and conducting the PhD viva voce as a expert. This is a fourth kind of, again, a capacity which we are holding. Again, different kinds of capacities are also there when we are members of the RDC of the university. We are chairman, sometime being head of the institution of a particular PhD. So at different level we have to work, because whatever we are doing, it is not only teaching, because a person may call himself or herself as a teacher when they are teaching at the primary school. That's why they are teacher, simple teacher. We are teaching as well as we are researching. Our job is of threefold. Teaching, number one, that should be based on research. Number two, anything, number one, two, it is not in that order. I am saying the three very important kinds of role which we are playing: teaching, research, and administration. Administration, when I call administration, it is not district administration, it is not police administration, it is not administration of different department, it is educational administration, institutional administration, where we have to play a different role, right from the vice chancellor to controller of examination to registrar, chief proctor, warden, chief warden, convener of different committee, convener or coordinator or organizing secretary of different academic event like seminar, conference, symposium, moot court competition, essay competition, quiz competition, etc. So we are playing a different role. That's why we need to inculcate a kind of ethics in every kind of research. Now come to this aspect, that what do we mean by the ethics? How ethics is important? Sometimes something is not coming under a particular boundary or particular domain prepared by a particular regulation regulating that activity in which we are involved and for which we are thinking that what kind of ethics is required. But then also we need to obey, we need to comply at least minimum ethics. What kind of ethics should be there? If we are starting writing a thesis or any report which is based on the research, then first of all, we must admit that what works have already been done in that field. For that purpose, we are doing literature review. We are surveying the literature. In literature review, in 5, 6, 7, sometime at 10 pages, we are writing, we are listing the name of sources which we have collected from the library or which we have saved from the online databases, whether it is online and offline. We are listing that these are the sources for which or by which we went through and what we found very briefly in that literature. So this is also a kind of accepting the contribution of existing knowledge which is already there in our library or in online databases. So this is a kind of, again, involving ethical content from the very beginning. It is different from the admitting source under footnotes or endnote, whatever is required and whatever you are following. So that is also one way where you are accepting, where you are admitting that you are taking certain idea, concept from this much source. This is one very important reason why we are writing footnotes or endnote or references. Again, bibliography is different, where we are writing certain sources at the last, that what we have taken exactly. That is also one thing. So this is one. Second important point, because of which we are writing footnote or endnote, that is everything, every important thing, or every concept which was there in that source, we cannot write in our main text. So when we are writing something on footnote or endnote, then it is available for the readers to go through that sources in detail if they need to do so. Because the purpose of our research is not getting degree which we would be getting instantly. The purpose of a degree is to fulfill the gap. This is one thing. And second, to show the torch to the prospective researcher that what they can do, what was your limitation. And beyond that limitation, a prospective researcher can do something. And in that way, the knowledge in that field will go to a further level. That is also important. So this is also a mandate of the ethics, that you must write the limitation of your study. Like because of the paucity of time or because of paucity of resources, you did not do empirical research, or you did not go beyond this particular level, or because certain legislation was pending, or because certain judgment has come from the court by which your journey had been abrupted. So whatever kind of abruption, whatever kind of disturbances, whatever kind of constraints that you felt, you can write under limitation of the study. At the last, you can also write that what is available, what is there for the prospective researcher. The researcher or the PhD scholar or any scholar who would be doing research on the same area on which you did. So what they will do further, that can also be suggested by the piece which we are writing by way of our output or by way of our report. So that is also one thing. Footnote, bibliography, endnote, literature review, limitation of the study. Then we have to think that what other kind of ethics. Means sometime or most of the time, some researchers are doing that. They are taking some idea, some concept, but they are writing in a way that the same is conceived by themselves. So this is not good. This is not fair. Even if you are taking idea, concept, maybe language is different, because changing language is not a smart thing for which we would be known. Language is entirely different thing. Whenever don't stuck by your different language, because the language, everyone would not be that much smart. A English teacher or a language teacher or a linguistic teacher, if they speak in classroom, obviously their language may be ornamental. Their language may be very catchy. Our language may not be catchy, but we must take this thing in our mind that we are the professor of law or any subject of whatever you are. So we are here in the class to teach law, not English. They would be learning English, language, linguistics, phonetics, whatever in that classroom. So we are here in the classroom or in any forum for legal content that we always keep in our mind. So changing language of a idea is not very smart thing, is not good, because if you are changing the idea, is changing the language of that idea, then also we must admit the contribution of someone under the footnote. That's why 0% plagiarism is not required. It is 10% always or particular percent. So that space is always there. You can take something. We are not God, that whatever we dream or whatever we think that we will write. So our writing must be based on certain legal provisions, statutory provisions, or if it is other law, then convention, custom. So whatever, long practices, rules, regulations, case laws, etc. Because law is not that limited, with sometime confusingly we are conceiving. Whenever we are doing research, we have to do research in very broader way, keeping the broad definition of law into our mind. We must give one example here, that when we take the terminology law, so law as defined under Article 13 is very broader than the term law defined or described or used under any of the article of the Constitution or any piece of the law. Let us take example, Article 265 of the Constitution of India, that is also there, which talks about no tax shall be levied as well as collected except authority of law. Here also law is used, but here the dimensions or domain of law is very limited. As per the various decisions of the Supreme Court of India, the law used under Article 265 is narrower than the law used under Article 13, because it is the tax, monetary legislation. By that, you are going, you means government is going to take certain money from the pocket of the people. So taking money from the pocket of people is always sensitive and painful. That should always be done based on the legislation in the black and white. It should not be done on any other things. And that legislation should be or must be enacted legislation. It should not be rules, it should not be regulation, it should not be circular, it should not be clarification, it should not be simple, any exercise done under the concept of delegated legislation. It should not be custom, it should not be usages, it should not be case laws, because in our country, as per the Article 141 of the Constitution of India, the law declared by the Supreme Court shall be law of land and shall be binding on all courts subordinate to that. So, and Supreme Court to be a court of record. So whatever judgment that is coming, that is not only binding and relevant for the parties who are litigating, that is also binding, and that also creates a kind of legal mandate for everyone, for masses. That's why the law declared by the Supreme Court shall be law of land, but that kind of law should not be basis for levying and collecting tax. So with that broadness, we have to think law when we are doing some research in our law. Sometimes guide supervisors are rejecting certain proposals coming from the research scholar regarding interdisciplinary research. So nowadays in this era, the focus is given on interdisciplinary research. And sometimes we are rejecting the research scholar that your topic is not confined to my subject only. It is touching 2 or 3 different subjects of the law. So the era where we are staying, we are living is of the interdisciplinary research, and we are rejecting a particular topic which involves, let us say, environmental law and constitution, environmental law and international law, tax and constitution, criminal law and environmental law, liabilities and something. So we have to give a kind of green signal, go ahead to the scholars if it is touching 2-3 subjects, which is very good. This is the mandate of new education policy NEP 2020, that there must be interdisciplinary research. There must be interdisciplinary kind of exercise going on in a particular institution. This new education policy discourages a single department university, single discipline university. It gives its mandate that research or activity must be from different subjects. That's why now institution which is very confined, which is a particular subject university, like triple IT, where you will see it would be only information and technology. NIT, where broader than triple IT, because triple IT it would be only information technology. NIT, at least it would be different branches of engineering sciences. In a similar way, IIT, different branches of engineering sciences. IIM, management is very much interdisciplinary, where so many subjects are involved in one way or another way. Law university, you will not find physics university, chemistry university, history university, and geography university, but you can very much find a law university working in so many states. Some states are exception, where there is no NLUs, particularly in the Northeast. But at the same time, you will find certain state where more than one national law university is there. Even Maharashtra is having 3 national law university. UP is going to have a second NLUs at the Prayagraj, Allahabad. MP is already having 2 national law university. One is in Bhopal and another is in Jabalpur. So once upon a time, it was only one when it started in 1985 in the name of National Law School of India, University of Bangalore. You can imagine its popularity and importance, that the concept which was started in 1985, it is not very old, it is only 35 years back, when there was one NLU, and today it is more than 25 NLUs, and certain NLUs are under the pipeline. Like there is one proposed in Uttarakhand. There is no national law university in Uttarakhand right now, and another is working, is under pipeline, and I think interaction for the purpose of appointment of the vice chancellor has already been taken place in the Allahabad. Sikkim, that has already started, but because of some glitches, it is there is a pause in the journey of that national university Sikkim. So very soon we would be having more national law universities. But why I am giving this example, that now they need to think that whether they can go beyond the law. In my university, there was a proposal that was not passed because of certain technicalities, that we, the National Law University, would run some courses in some subjects which are taught during first 2 years of the BLLB program, like sociology, political science, economics, English. So we propose that we would be having BA and MA course in those subjects. However, that is not passed as of now, but very soon it may be. We are running nowadays in one legal PhD in law and another PhD interdisciplinary, having some interface with law. In Ramana Lohia National Law University, whatever allied subjects, social science subjects that is there in the law school during 2 years, the PhD is available in those subjects also. So we are going beyond the subject. IIT Kharagpur is having law department, where from there the registrar has come in my university on lien. He worked here for the 2 years, and just 6-7 days back his lien is over, and he again went back to the IIT Kharagpur. However, he was a faculty member, in the founding faculty member of the HNLU itself, Professor Dr. Uday Shankar. So why I am giving this example, that IIT Kharagpur is having law department where LLM is there, 3 years LLB is there, PhD is there, post PhD is there. IIM Lucknow, where law department is there. Some academics from law, they are working there. So nowadays we are thinking, we are doing. You will see a professor of sociology, professor of psychology working in the IIT and IIM, a professor of sociology working in the agricultural university. So different dimensions are there. So now this is the mandate of new education policy, and this is ethically also acceptable, that we should do certain things wherein overall knowledge should get enhanced. It is not pure knowledge of that subject, because see, this is not the same. This is not to this extent. Biomedical science, biotechnology, microbiology, these are the things where we are taking 2 subjects together. In Banaras Hindu University, there is one institute, very famous Institute of Environment and Sustainable Development. where you will find the academics from legal background, from agricultural background, from science background, from a statistics background, etc. There is one department in Nalanda International University, that is Buddhism study. There also you will find environment and Buddhism study like that. You will find the academics from agriculture, law, science, and other disciplines. So we have to promote the interdisciplinary research. We have to authenticate our work by admitting the sources, because without source we cannot do anything. We are not preacher, we are not saint, we are not God, we are not political leaders who are conceiving the ideas and implementing at the ground. We are the legal researcher, or if any subject participant is there, you can say your subject researcher. So there is onus lying on our soldiers to promote the research things in our subject. Then and then only we will get that kind of dignity which a Western professors are having, which a professors of great institutions are having. Once I was discussing certain issues that is very that becomes very general in law universities with some of the vice chancellors, because at so many times vice chancellors meet is there, and particularly during CLAT examinations, vice chancellors are coming, going, we are picking, we are meeting with them, we are discussing, sometimes formal, sometimes informal. So I was discussing that why an autonomous institution or national law university professors, they are not getting that kind of gravity, dignity, status, prestige from the parents, from the students, from the government, from the society, from the bureaucrats. Because you see, sometimes, most of the time I experienced, particularly when there is interaction with some bureaucrats, with some authorities or some teachers of a simple colleges I am talking about, then they are not giving that respect to the academics. Why? Because we are responsible for that. Bureaucrats are generally only graduate. Even if they are IAS, they are only graduate. We, the academicians, are minimum PhD holder or minimum post-graduation degree holder. Sometimes MPhil also. Sometimes BA, MA, LLB, LLM, NET, GRF, MPhil, PhD, post-PhD, so many degrees which they cannot even think in rarest of their dream. Then also they are getting more dignity, more status, more popularity in comparison to the academics. Why? Because we are not confining ourselves in the very good kind of research. If we will involve ourselves, we will make ourselves very busy in research kind of activities, and we will not give that kind of special weightage to any bureaucrat, to any parent, such parent, so-called parent, to government, and we start giving respect to ourselves. Ourselves means one teacher to other teacher. We should not criticize. So many times I saw a teacher sitting in a cabin, talking nonsense and talking certain kind of baseless criticisms about their colleagues with the students. And when I was a student, I was always briefed, I was always taught by my guide, by my teacher, that a teacher should never forget the minimum ethics, that we should not criticize our fraternity, our colleagues in front of parents, in front of students, in front of others. We can criticize ourselves. I can criticize another teacher in his mouth or amongst ourselves, amongst our fraternity, but we should not criticize ourselves to the student. Sometimes we want to take some cheap popularity. We want to take some small or cheap favor from the students. And that went in a very dangerous way. That student would stop giving respect to that teacher of which you were criticizing, or even yourself also, that he is so cheap that he is criticizing his colleague. So now the same student would go to the cabins of offices of the other teacher. He will tell that a particular teacher was saying this and this about yourself. So this is also an ethical thing. that there may be difference of opinion amongst the colleagues. That difference may be discussed. We may have a certain kind of dialogue with our colleague on certain shortcomings, but we should never discuss those things among the students, their parents, with any person. And we should not demean ourselves. Whenever we are having some meeting, we are interacting with the bureaucrats. We must give, because it is we, the academicians, who are holding the position of administrator. And when we start holding the position of administrator, we forget that ethics, minimum ethics, that we should do something, we should do some betterment for our fraternity. The attitude of a teacher changes when he becomes vice chancellor, when he becomes registrar, when he becomes controller, when he becomes chief proctor, towards even their colleagues. That is also a dangerous thing, which creates or which makes a biggest hurdle in research ethics, because research is a kind of, that's why you might have observed that the nomenclature or the title of my today's talk is building an ethical environment in legal research. So this environment is not environmental law, environment Paryavaran. This is a Vatavaran. Means we have to make a kind of ambience. This environment, which is used in my title, is ambience. Means that ambience is required. Then and then only you will give your best in research. For that, authorities must give the resources. Authorities must give the equipments, whether it is laptop, tablets, printers, scanner, photocopier, whatever is required, that resources must be there. There must be research grant also. That is also one thing. The last or second last topics, second last unit, the concept on which I wanted to speak something. After that, I would open the floor for the interaction. One more thing I want to say, because we have right now, I think, 25 minutes, 20 or 25 minutes time, that please speak, please tell, please raise your hand. There is provision in that, or you can mute yours. You can switch on your mic and speak if you need to speak something. And I believe I am still audible, because sometimes there is absorption in the net connection also. At the initial time, I was struggling with some net issues, but I fixed that. I resolved that and started speaking. So, am I audible and visible both?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Because there is difference in
Yes,
online
sir.
and offline. Please, anyone wanted to say something? Any question, any query, any observation from any explanation from your side? Otherwise, at the last, we would open the floor for the open discussion from anyone, in wherein you would be having an opportunity to speak your mind, to speak your heart, to tell your observation, to tell any explanation, any query, any question. I would be more than happy. Okay, so what is another aspect where we have to contribute something, and for that, research environment would be created in the institution where you are working. That there must be having research grant in institution if resources permits. Because so many times we depend on certain external body, certain external regulator, that if they would give some fund or they would grant a certain project, then we would be doing either minor project or major project. So doing some project is also very, very, very important, where that would be very interesting, because that would be apart from your research, teaching and administration, which you are doing as a faculty member in any institution. Because if you are doing some project, the outcome of that project would be helpful, directly helpful for the society. You can do certain aspects of implementation of artificial intelligence. You can do certain research on traffic, that what would be the kind of roads in India, how the turning would be there, so that there should not be blind turning and there should not be accident over that turning. So traffic research is also one area where one can do certain research and their outcome may be benefited. Environmental law is a subject where research is deadly needed. The very survival of human being in particular and all organism in general depends on this issue, that how beautifully we are going to tackle the compliance of the environmental law based on the research, because our survival is at stake. COVID-19 has taught us a very important lesson, that if we will not be cautious, if we will not give a kind of respect to our Mother Earth, if we will not convert our approach from the human-centric, that is anthropocentric, to ecocentric, then our survival would be at stake. We are very confused when we talk only the betterment of the human being. Our betterment would be to that extent, the extent under which the betterment of other living organisms is there, because it is an ecosystem. If there is no water, if there is no land, if there is no proper land, pure land, clean land, if there is no plants, trees, other organisms, maybe blind, wild animals I am talking about. If there is a small example we can take, if there would not be honeybees, then there would not be pollination. We cannot have grains to eat. And within 1 week, the complete generations of the human being would be abolished. And we would stand in the category of dinosaur and so many other organisms which got extincted. Speciation and extinctions are the natural process wherein some species are coming into existence and some species are extincted. So for nature, it would not be very shocking if human being would be extincted. So our whole survival is on this factor, that how we are tackling our environment, and that is only possible through the research. So that we have to always think, and that is how that is possible. We would be doing certain projects all the time. It is not possible that your research or your project research in the project would be sponsored by a particular body like UGC minor project, UGC major project, ISSR major minor project, whatever. If science stream is there, then other CSIR and other bodies are also there. Internally also, from the university, if we are affiliated colleges, affiliated with some universities or any university or any autonomous bodies there, then internal allocation of the research grant may be there, wherein a faculty member is having opportunity to do certain research or under any project, and the outcome should be sent to the government, should be sent to a particular body working in that field. If it is a law field, then so many regulatory bodies are there, Law Commission of India. If it is environmental field, then it is Biodiversity Board, State Pollution Control Board, Central Pollution Control Board, and the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. So importance of climate change and environment you can understand by this factor, that the name of ministry is changed now. Previously it was MOEF, Ministry of Environment and Forest. Now it is Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. So climate change has become so crucial, has become so important, has become so debatable, has become so burning that everyone is talking about that climate change. So we must do certain projects also. By that we would get exposure. By that we would get a kind of angle to think, to teach, and our even teaching would be enhanced. And we would be able to contribute the society to the government by our outcome of the research. It may be empirical one, it may be doctrinal one. There is no issue in that, but one can do. And even if we talk about increasing our API, then it increases the academic performance indicators also. That is very much required for our promotion, whether it is cash promotion from 6 to 7,000 grade pay, that is from assistant professor to assistant professor senior scale, and from assistant professor senior scale to assistant professor selection grade, and again to associate professor, professor and senior professor. So for everything, API is needed. And when you are doing certain project, then your API is increased with that doing of your project. And it would another level of research, because it is based on the research. It is not a simple project which we are talking in our day-to-day life. So this is also one way or different level of research that is very much required. Next, the next point which is needed for ethical, for ensuring the ethical content in any legal research is I already told we have to admit the contributions, whether it is our parents, research guide, or other teachers of the department, or friends, your friends who are doing your proofreading and certain kind of help. So admitting the contribution of other is very much required. Giving the credit to other researcher, to other person who has done something on that, that is also very much required. Nowadays, this is era of artificial intelligence also, where there is a chat GPT. Some person I came to know, I heard, because I'm not that smart in those work. So I came to know by my some friends that now people started writing their PhD thesis and other research completely based on artificial intelligence or chat GPT. However, under plagiarism, it would show AI content. But for that also sometimes people have different methodology to go away or to remove that kind of things. They are typing, they are first taking some printout in hard copy, they are getting it scanned, again they are editing. So different methodologies they are adopting. So these methodologies are not good. For the purpose of conceiving some certain idea, for the purpose of study, for the purpose of an enhancement of your knowledge, it is good. I'm not criticizing chat GPT. It has almost changed. It changed the very concept of mm, research and other things altogether. So if we are constructively utilizing the AI, it is very good, but we should not do simple cut and paste from those artificial intelligence content, whether it is chat GPT or any other name. So we have to think on that also. For a study point of view, it is good, but we should not do that. Sometimes what we do, which is not the mandate of ethics also, that you are given or you are giving certain assignment to your researcher, and they are just simply um, reading one source and they are writing in their own way, own language, the same content. So this is not proper. This is not good. There is a way which you have already gone through in different lectures. I have not gone in detail in the methodology part, is how you would be pursuing. What are those steps in research writing? Those aspects I have not gone. I have gone just in the kind of building a ambience, building an ethical environment for doing the legal research. And whenever we are doing research, we should do research very honestly to a deep level. We must not choose an area which is a very broad and which very generalistic, because the more confined area we would choose, the more penetrating outcome would be there in the research. That you always keep in mind. So this is inversely proportional. In mathematics, there is one concept, directly proportional and inversely proportional. So in tax, we are sometimes teaching that a tax is directly proportional to your economic level, particularly income tax, where there is equity that is always present. That is means rich has to pay more, poor has to pay less. Sometimes poor does not need to pay at all. So in the same way, the kind of area, if you keep big area, your research would be very less confined. If you keep a very penetrating and very, you can say, confined area, your research would go deeper. So this is inversely proportional. So that also we keep into mind, that we should keep an area that should be pinpointed so that we can be doing our research in pinpointed way. But at the same time, we need to survey the literatures also. There must be something beyond which you want to go. It should not be a very innovative and something only based on the technology, because we need to go a long way particularly in law and technology. What is happening in law and technology? Technology is moving faster than the law. It means pace of technology is faster than the pace of law. So technology is running and law is anyhow changing. First technology is coming, they are creating some challenges, they are giving some challenges. By that there is a gap, and that gap is being fulfilled by the law. Then law is coming with certain kind of regulation. Then they want to regulate that technology. So that is happening. So we in very less time cannot change this scenario, but anyhow, we have to keep our pace in tune with that technology. That's why new kind of law is also emerging nowadays, like internet law, cyber law, space law, energy law, sports law, now AI law. So many new law and technology has been there. So different pinpointed kind of small areas are emerged in the law. That area we can choose for our research, so that we as a teachers, we as a faculty members also get certain things and get certain enhancement of our knowledge, and researcher will also enhance their knowledge. So that is a kind of exchange of knowledge which must be there. When a special kind of autonomous institution is being established, that time founder is always thinking it should not be only giving or delivering a kind of lecture in the class. We, the academicians, must go in class with certain research, and we should interact with the student. We should talk to the students, and we must create a kind of ambience where bilateral dialogue should be there between students and teachers. Then there will be exchange of knowledge. Whatever you know, a student would be benefited whatever students know, by way of questioning, by way of their answer, by way of the question which they will be asking. We may not be perfect in that question. Whatever we are saying spontaneously, instantly in the class, later on we are going in at our home and we study more on that question, and next day we can add something in that question. Whenever we are asking some question and students are answering, in that answer we can find something which we do not know. So this is a learning and teaching process. So this is the mandate of ethics, that we must learn something daily. In daily class, we must learn something. Every day should be a new day for a teacher. It should not be कि एक डायरी में छोटा सा कंटेंट हम लिख लिए और उसकी डायरी से अपना जिंदगी गुजार दिए पढ़ा पढ़ा के. It means you are not going to learn anything right from your first day of your career to the last. I know certain teachers who made their notes, who choose one or two subjects, and they have got superannuation with the same one or two subjects, with the same notes, by adding something, or sometimes then anything is not added. I know where people are just taking help of thesis writer, and thesis is being written. This is not ethical at all. Not ethical. Some teachers in the traditional university, they are not going to class at all. This is not at all acceptable. We will lose our value, status, dignity, prestige in the society. Obviously, that's why I was saying we are responsible for our situation, because I'm not blaming only faculty members. Sometimes situation is there where you cannot make any change. Right from the top to bottom, there is no environment at all. But at least what you can do, you can go in your class. Others are not doing, you can start your class. My one friend, my one batchmate who was my roommate in Banaras Hindu University, he is doing that work in Delhi University. He is running a class for judicial services free of cost. He is running some test series for the judicial services free of cost. In his class, 10 times more students are coming and sitting. And whatever students they are sitting, so many more and more students are standing in the class for continuous 1 hour, and they are listening to the teacher. So that kind of things we have to create. So that would be certain different scenario. I was allotted time up to 11:45, but I presume that if I get 10 minutes more time, I would open the floor for the participants so that there would be a discussion from both sides. So these are certain points which are in one way or other way mandate of ethics, and which are very much needed to create a kind of ethical environment which are needed for doing legal research. And legal research is very much needed, not only for acquiring the MPhil PhD or LLM dissertation or PG dissertation or post PhD degree, but it is needed for everything. For everything we are doing as a faculty member. So with that note, I conclude my today's talk with this hope that you people would be asking some questions, or if there is a less question or no question, in that condition, you would tell your observation, you would tell your query if time permits. Thank you so much for the patient hearing. I thank a lot. I sincerely express my gratitude to the organizer of this refresher course. And I also thank to give me the opportunity to interact with you all, to speak my mind, to speak my perspective on this topic. Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Over to you.
Thank you, sir, for taking the session on a holiday, which is Sunday. So I would just like to request, and any of the participants have any questions regarding the session, they can just come up with their questions and muting themselves so that sir may answer the questions, because we have 15 minutes of for the another speaker to just join in, because the second session I will be starting at 12 o'clock. So we have 10 minutes. We can, if in case we want to we want to ask some questions from the resource person, we can. So over to the participants, if they have any questions, quickly they can start with the questions, or else if they don't have questions, they can just write no in the chat box so that we can also finalize the session and proceed with the formal vote of thanks for the resource person. So moving towards the end of the session, thank you so much, sir, for being a part of this 15 days online refresher course, which is organized by the Department of Legal Studies and Research, Barkatullah University, Bhopal, and Droid Penal Group, a unit of Arjun Das Gulati Memorial Society, Prayagraj and Chitrakoot, in collaboration with Guru Angad Dev Teaching Learning Center, Ministry of Education, Government of India. So, sir, it was a pleasure having you with us for this talk. Thank you so much, sir.
Most welcome.
The next resource person will join with us within 10 to 12 minutes. We'll start the session there. A very good afternoon to all the participants and the resource person for the day. Today, on the 13th day of the 15 days online refresher course on teaching pedagogy in legal research, commerce, and social sciences, we heartily welcome Dr. S.K. Bose, Associate Professor, School of Law, Manav Rachna University, NCR, Delhi. Today, sir will be taking up a topic on innovative teaching skills. So a very warm welcome to you, sir, and over to you, sir. So we have given you the co-host permissions. So in case you want to share your PPT, you can share.
Thank you so much, Gauravji, and thank you so much for having me here. So allow me to share my small PPT. I have made a few slides, though I did not concentrate more on the contents, only slides there so that I will not make any kind of digression in between.
Yes, sir, you may share your screen. You've been given the co-host permission.
Okay. So is it shared now?
Yes, sir, it's completely visible.
Okay, I'll go back to the first one now. This is first slide, and I'll make it slide more. But I'm going to see the button.
Yes, sir, any confusion, sir?
No, I want to put on the slide mode, no?
Sir, see, there on the slide, it is written slideshow option.
That is on my home button on desktop, but this screen also is
Sir,
creating
once you go to the slideshow, it will completely change. Not an issue. Yes. Next to animations.
No, next to animation, I'm not able to see that button because.
So just come to the slide.
Okay, I'll do that one now. Okay, it's fine now.
Yes, sir.
So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for having me here. And of course, the topic that we'll be discussing today is the innovative teaching practice, the innovative teaching skills. Before that, we'll also discuss the objectives of this refresher course. Most of you, ladies and gentlemen, are already in the teaching profession, and I presume that many of you may be from law, and many of you may be from different streams, may be from humanities, commerce, or from multidisciplinary sections. So the discussion would be now, since you people are teaching there in higher education, what are the opportunities and challenges that we'll discuss before we embark into the need of having innovative teaching practices. Since it is a refresher course, we would like to refresh our memory lane. We would like to brush up our knowledge and see that we stay relevant to the new practices. Teaching has always been a very, very demanding profession, and it's also at the same time very rewarding. So to stay relevant, we have to update our knowledge from time to time. We have to see that there is growth in our knowledge store, and we stay also intellectually relevant. I would like to know from all of you that what are the opportunities available in the teaching profession, especially when you talk about higher education, and what are the challenges? Of course, everybody knows that teaching, that the adults, especially adult learners, in the higher educational institutions, it's very, very tough. And day in and day out, all of us come across various challenges. The challenges first, one of the important or very, very predominant challenges is that in the classroom, the kind of behavior the students normally do. So you as a teacher or we as teachers, normally what we expect from the students there in the classroom. We expect the students to behave in certain way. But for that, we have to create a kind of ambience, an atmosphere, ambience where students are very comfortable and teachers do not get heckled by the students. And then the teaching learning process goes very, very smooth. I do not know whether all of you can have that right to speak to me in between if you have any queries, or at any point in time you want to interject me, or if you have any kind of disagreements or anything you want to add to the discussion, you are more than welcome.
So all the participants have been given the access to unmute themselves and speak to you.
So that would be
session.
Great, because we'll have interaction. At least it should not be very, very traditional and stereotype discussion. At least they'll have to participate in the discussion. They may pose their questions or what are the challenges they do face in their day-to-day teaching, and I'll be able to address to those questions. That will be very, very relevant and it will be fruitful. So therefore, all are very mature listeners. So I don't think anybody is going to overspeak in between, and it would be great if they can participate and discuss. These are the challenges I face in my classroom. So how to go about it, how to overcome these challenges. I'll be able to specifically address those problems. However, I will try to cover up all those challenges that we do face. As myself a teacher, I practice all these techniques there in the classroom and derive some kind of results. So if many of you may be also practicing those techniques or those methodologies there in the classroom, and some of you may be getting the desired results, some of you may not be getting that results. And what are other challenges also that you face that while you are adopting certain practices there in the classroom? It's been always, you may experiment different pedagogy, different methodologies in the classroom. And in spite of your best effort also, sometimes you feel disheartened, you feel disappointed, and sometimes you feel let down by your students because that assessment and evaluation, when at the end term you evaluate their papers, you see that whatever you have taught, probably they did not receive. Therefore, a feedback system is also one of the important practices there in the innovative teaching skills. And I would just see that this would be a discussion, and it will be, since it is a refresher course, everybody has some amount of knowledge, and they also adopt and practice or use those techniques in the classroom. They may be sharing their opinions or their point of views, or the practical difficulties they face in the classroom. That is actually the aim of this discussion, and that will serve the purpose of having this refresher course. First, know that these are the challenges and opportunities. I'll not speak about the opportunities. Everybody knows teaching is a noble profession. Plethora of opportunities available there in the teaching profession. Of late, people are now coming into this teaching practice, especially in higher education, colleges and universities, and a lot of law schools, law universities are also opening, and a lot of vacancies are there. So therefore, if you at this time you are a young professor or looking for that a very strong, solid career that in the teaching profession, I think we all have to make efforts to stay relevant. That goes without saying. in the age of this AI, we talk about ChatGPT, we talk about all those AI tools. Also, making us always stand on our toes. Students will be going through Google's, and they will be putting certain search engines to find out whether whatever you say is actually relevant, it has some kind of sense or not. They can all the time, they can verify, and they can counter question your intellectual pursuit. So that also poses a big challenge for you. And I think that is also one way make you very, very a lot vigilant in terms of updating your knowledge. And if you are a teacher of law, always law being a dynamic subject, every day things do change. Every day new cases come to the court, new judgments are pronounced, so new angles are given to this law. All the things very, very tough for you, as I personally believe that if you are a law teacher, you are equal to a professor teaching that in medical sciences. Medical science, again, it's a very dynamic subject. It keeps on changing every day. Various diseases, various medicines and all, you stay relevant. Every day you have to do continuous research. Similarly, that if you are a law professor, research is an integral part of your teaching learning process. And when you teach that, you learn a lot. A lot of things you have to unlearn when you are—
Excuse me, sir. Sir, your slides are not moving.
No, I am not even moving my slides at this point in time.
Okay,
I'm
okay,
giving a brief overview. And in this, while I'm giving this brief overview, I would also invite your comments or suggestions or your opinions there where you want to add something to the discussion. I'm telling these are the challenges. So am I speaking relevantly on this topic? If anybody can say.
Yes, sir.
I think I'm clearly audible to all of you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so fine. I'll not be putting many questions in between if that is not very convenient for you to have that kind of frequent interactions. But these are the opportunities are there, plenty of opportunities. So therefore, people are now quite enthusiastic to come into the academics. Many even lawyers, leaving their law practice, coming, doing their, clearing their NET examinations, going for PhD, and looking for the career in that teaching or in academia. That's a good thing. These are plenty of opportunity are there. But at the same time, the challenges are there. We are living in this age of science and technology, where these tools are there for at your disposal, and these tools are making your job easier and faster. So you can take the help of these machines, you can take the help of this AI, you can take the help of various platforms, Google, ChatGPT and all for your research, for your teaching preparation. And that's what you are expected to do to stay. The moment you become redundant, the moment you become outdated, nobody is going to accept that in the classroom. And therefore, I say that it's a really very, very challenging job for you to go to the classroom, and especially when you are handling the adults. These are all adults, mature boys and girls. So they are, unless you bring something new to that table, they are not going to accept. Why would they come? They have come here to polish their skills. They want to pick some kind of new techniques and skills. They have to see that whether this learning is relevant to them, whether this learning is going to help them in getting a good job that in future, whether this teaching is intellectually growing them, developing them, or their mental faculty is developed, and they will be finding a very secure future in course of time. Everybody has that goal that when you are taking a good education, you are looking to be successful in life, whether you become a judge, whether you become a legal professional or a practicing lawyer or a law professor, or you join a multinational company, or you become a chartered accountant, or you become a bank official, whatever you want to do. But there is a aim to become successful in life. Therefore, unless you give them there in the classroom, most of the time, I'm talking very, very practical. I'm giving practical examples that the higher education colleges and these university students come, they take admission. And if you are a teacher in a private college or private university, your position is quite precarious. What happens there? You try, you learn a lot of things, you pick up a lot of techniques and skills, you go that you are quite enthusiastic with all the zeal, and just you go to the classroom to deliver something, but the students are not there to receive that knowledge from you. You get disheartened. You come and then you show your grievances or register your complaint against the students to your principal or your head of the department, saying that, look, ma'am or sir, I have prepared well to go and take that lecture in the morning, but I do not find students there in the classroom, and all the students may be in good numbers present there in the campus, must be sitting in the cafeteria, must be sitting somewhere else, but they'll be not coming to the classroom, and they'll be expecting you to deliver the content. And sometimes what do they say? Nothing has been taught to us in the classroom. So therefore, it is one of the preliminary challenges that every teacher faces. So anybody has anything to share? Whether this is again a challenge for you, that do you face these kind of challenges there in the classroom almost every day? That if your lecture is scheduled to be taking place at 2 o'clock or maybe 2:30, by the time you see most of the students leaving the college, they must be sitting in the canteen or boarding that train or bus or metro, traveling to other places. They're not thinking of the yoga, and then they'll be giving you excuse that one. So I think, what is that one thing that you have to adopt? And here comes the importance of adopting the innovative teaching practices to make them interested. You have to catch their pulse to understand that what they need. And the first thing you do, probably that your job becomes easier, that you will be able to tackle these students there in the classroom. There is a saying that a mediocre teacher tells, a good teacher explains, an excellent teacher demonstrates, but a great teacher inspires. So when you inspire the students to come to the classroom in good numbers, now you get motivated. So what are the things you do to inspire these students? Again, that inspiring student itself is an art, and you have to develop that art. Again, having that art itself is one of the innovative teaching practices for you. That what you can do, you kindle that kind of, ignite that kind of spark in them, motivate them, encourage them, inspire them, and they come to the classroom. So anybody can teach. Teaching is not that difficult, though it needs a different set of skills. At least anybody can teach that. You do continuous research, study, prepare, organize yourself, go to the classroom. But most importantly, how you motivate the students to come to the classroom. That again is kind of when does that innovation happen? When you critically think, go deep into that subject, thinking that what am I going to do to inspire these students? So there is no one formula that applies. That you have your own way of motivating students to come to the classroom. I have a different way to motivate the students. So therefore, you have to also understand the mindset of the students. And what is the general mindset of the students? That nobody is interested to study anything. And you will find very few students, those are meritorious, they know their objectives, they come to the classroom with this aim of studying. And that is again not going to motivate you, because you know only a few students, maybe 3, 4, 5 students out of 60 students present over there, those who have that interest, or those who have come with one aim to study. And then what happens, that you have to also bring that mental faculty to that level to see that you do not get discouraged. You teach that rigorously, that those 5, 6 students, and these students will be again spreading that word of mouth. Yes, and sometimes again I'm telling this will be working in your advantage, it will be working to your benefit. These 4-5 meritorious students regularly attending your class means they're acknowledging and appreciating your efforts that have been put by you in the classroom, because these are the meritorious students. And then they go, even though they themselves give that kind of indication to other students that please come and attend the classes. Sometimes no other students, average or below average students, they see that these are the students, meritorious students, those are scoring good or very, very disciplined, they're very focused and they're attending classes. Seeing them, they get motivated. They come to us and then attend. And over a period of time, you see that these students will get motivated and get inspired by, indirectly by you also, because you are able to hold those 4-5 students in the classroom and giving them content. And they are going and spreading that kind of information and sharing with their friends that yes, the class is worth attending. We must come and attend the classes. This is again a kind of innovative practice that catching the pulse of the student, understanding their mindset. So therefore, I think it's needed now. It is the need of the hour to embrace innovative teaching practices, and with that, we'll discuss that at length. Collaborative practices, the experiential learning. We'll be talking about peer learning. We'll talk about how this active learning takes place and project-based learning. All these things we'll be discussing. But then you have to see that what are the techniques you will be adopting there to understand the students in the first place and motivate them to come to the classroom. Then that your job becomes easier. First thing, you have to bring them to the classroom and with that instilling genuine interest in them so that they'll come with that mindset to learn something. That is the first step. So therefore, I think this is the time that we all have to, one way or another, adopt innovative teaching practices. And again, I'm telling, there is no straight-jacketed formula that this is going to that A formula works for me, may not work for you, and this B formula works for you, may not work for me. So you have to identify what way that you will have to innovate your teaching, and that I'll tell you that giving example. Here I want to stop and I want to know from you, anybody has adopted any technique there in the classroom to hold the interest or generate kind of interest among the students so that these students come to the classroom with one goal to listen to you and understand something and write something. Have you ever practiced or any technique that you used there in the classroom and that gave you substantial amount of results? Can anybody share? Okay, fine. So this is so we'll be discussing that that embracing the innovative teaching practices. Then I will talk about the techniques for teaching adult learners. What are the techniques you'll be doing? And before that, you have to also understand the characteristics of adult learners. I was talking about their mindset. You need what kind of learners are there, what they are looking for, what are they interested in. And then we'll be discussing some of the components of effective instruction. Again, that is very, very relative concept, that what the effective instruction, what are the do's and don'ts you have to adopt there or follow to see that you deliver the content effectively in the classroom. And then, of course, that the broader concept, the main concept is that innovative teaching practices and that assessment and evaluation. Now, my slide is moving techniques for teaching, where one important thing is that clear course and class objectives, and also explaining the students, giving instruction, what are the learning activities. But before that, you have to design the course. Now you see that course means your syllabus. In the syllabus, you have to see what are the different components. That module 1, module 2, and module 3, module 4. You are necessarily, essentially for every course, now you bring an introduction. So here, one technique you have to follow is that in introduction, you are not going to introduce that particular child. You make them stand on their toes, make them keep guessing that they will also have their own guessing, and they will understand that what you will be talking about. For example, you are going to teach now the organs of the government. Maybe that you will talk about that three organs of the government: the executive, the legislative, and the judiciary. For example, you are teaching that one. So you do not have to introduce directly that this is what you are going to teach. But coming to that, first, let me see that in the course, in the syllabus, you have mentioned 3 to 4 objectives, the learning objectives. What are the objectives of this entire syllabus? If it is a political science, you will have to mention what are the objectives of these particular modules or the entire course. By the end of the night, you should focus on the understanding of the concept of that policy and governance. If it is one of the objectives, by the end of the session, that students should be able to understand that the policy or the governance or the best practices of administration, if it is one of the objectives. The second objective that you will be able to critically think and analyze situations relating to that. Supposing a decision has been taken by the government and the decision is not in the best interest of the people. People are not happy. So that is the function of the judiciary. That when you see that the legislative and executive both are aligned with each other, and you go and you take the help of the court, you go to that the judiciary, and judiciary is there for your rescue. So what happens there? You are thinking that this is again a part that where you see that the policy or the practice or any kind of legislation that has been brought by the government is not in the best interest of the people. Therefore, you have the right to go to the judiciary. So this means you are teaching in that course that one of the objectives of this course is to think critically and analyze. So when the practical situation comes, that whether you are able to apply that knowledge to that situation and coming out with some kind of solutions. So problem solving. That means what's the purpose of learning? That you have learned that the 3 organs of the government, or you learned the concept of separation of powers, you know that how these 3 organs work separately, and what is that we talk about independence of judiciary, how the judiciary is independent, how you will be applying your knowledge in that situation where you think that certain laws have been brought up or that certain laws have been legislated by the present dispensation by the government, but people at large not happy with those laws or those legislations, then what is the way forward? So you have that knowledge that you have studied that in your subject, that what is the concept of separation of power and how the judiciary works and what is the role and function of the judiciary. Therefore, you know your rights, you know your fundamental rights, you go to the court and you file a writ petition. So what happens? That you are able to apply that. So that is one of the objectives. So therefore, whenever you design a course, you should know, you must lay down 4 to 5 objectives, the course objectives. And then in the end, you will also mention what are the outcomes of this course. What are the 3, 4, 5 outcomes of it? You have laid down the objectives. Whether your outcomes are that student, you have mentioned that one of the objective is to make student think critically. This is one objective. Now, how will be mapping that objective with outcome? Outcome is that students should be able to apply the existing knowledge to that situation and come out with some kind of solution. So now you're telling you have laid down that objective in the beginning, that this course is designed to make students think critically. Now you are also finding out outcome. Now asking students certain things. This is the situation. A student is able to give you the solution. That means that you know that your objective has been well mapped with the outcome. Your objective actually fulfills, or the outcome is there, what you thought, that is the preliminary objective, and that has been fulfilled because the student is able to apply his knowledge and think critically. Therefore, your objective is well mapped with the outcomes. So in that course design, one has to be very, very careful and has to have that kind of independence and authority to design your own course without much interference on the part of your head of the department or your superior or your principal. Allow, say that madam or sir, with due respect, in this subject I'm going to teach. So allow me some amount of independence to design my course and modify it accordingly to the needs of the students, and let me lay down what some objectives, and then I'll also think that what my outcomes would be, what I'm thinking, keeping that goal in mind, that what would be the outcomes. If you are aimlessly traveling, then you will be loitering all around. You never reach your destination. So if you lay down objectives to go from this place to that place, you should know reaching that place, that what you are supposed to do and what time you should be able to reach, so that your outcome is something that you are expecting, or that is the result. So therefore, you'll have to make that course material and analyzing the multiple complexity and different perspectives. You'll have to see that how this is to be received by the students. This is what I'm telling. It's not about me displaying my knowledge, sometimes making a very tough question that when you are making question paper. But that has to be also kept in mind, that what is your target audience? Who are you? What are your expectations of the students? And who are in the category of 70 to 80? Who are in the category of 80 to 90? What would be higher order questions, lower order questions? How will be designing the question paper? So these all be planned methodically and beforehand. So keeping in mind that I'll be making necessary questions. So therefore, normally that you must have also understood that when you go for any kind of comprehension, that passages in your competitive examinations, sometimes it's not necessary to read that particular passage. But also together with the passage, you must read the questions, try to understand the questions. In that understanding will be much easier. So keeping in mind, these are the questions. Similarly, when you make an abstract for any research article, what you do, that keeping in mind, these are the broader aspects that I'll be covering in my article, and this is the gist of my research article, and that comes necessarily in the form of an abstract. But abstract has to be written that in the end. But this is a common practice. Whoever asks or call for paper will be asking that you first submit your abstract, then you will be giving your entire article. But it has to be ideally that keeping in mind these are the points you'll be writing abstract. That is a bit difficult. Otherwise, once you do complete the research articles, putting all your headings, subheadings, title, and end, then bringing that gist of this article is much easier for you. But we are habitual of doing the other way practice. The first we are writing that abstract, then accordingly we are spreading out the different headings and subheadings. That is what I mean. So I'm telling that when you are designing the course, also keep in mind what would be my questions. What are the question patterns that I'll be formulating that in particular end-term examination. Whether I'll be giving MCQ questions, whether I'll be giving them essay questions, descriptive questions, analytical questions, questions where students can think critically. I'll have to also understand how far they are able to think critically. Where I'll be giving some kind of questions, they'll have to synthesize, extrapolate and give their own perspective. So all these components to be put together in your course materials in the first place. Then again, you will be making that example from students' experiences, that feedback, which normally I tell that frequently and timely feedback. So do not hesitate to take feedback. As as a subject teacher, you are quite independent. Do not worry about who is watching you, who is monitoring your performance, nothing. You don't have to explain that. The more you get scared, the more you are alert that somebody is monitoring me, whether I am using the good teaching practice there in the classroom, you will never be able to deliver the content. What you will be doing, that having that kind of independence, that kind of conviction in your own ability, you back your own ability by content, by substance, and then you will be sharing every now and then what students actually want. This is again, I'm telling, going deep to understand the mindset of the students very frequently. And that one of the ways is through feedback. Or sometimes this feedback, has anybody encouraged this kind of practice, telling students, please, if you hesitate to put any questions there in the classroom, please send me an email. My private email ID is this. Please send me an email what your queries are on. Sometimes that particular student gets motivated. So again, it is one teaching practices or it is teaching techniques, that one of the teaching techniques where you will be using very frequently, encouraging students to send you that email or WhatsApp message. Now that is again quite familiar, that everybody does that messaging using that platform like WhatsApp or Telegram. You tell that, drop me a message telling what your queries are. So if you do, most of the times, opinion polls. So again, it is one of the effective ways to know what your students think of you. Sometimes, you get a little bit, we all get carried away, we get biased, some one or two students say, sir, you have taught well, oh, it's beautiful, fantastic, and we sometimes, we become overconfident, and then we do not take that. But you will see, sometimes many will be nodding their head, and very loud and pompous way, they will be giving that kind of impression to you. They have understood everything. The moment you put a question, now you see that they will give you some kind of weird answer. Then you will have a happy laugh thinking that, oh, I explained the things with a lot of live example, illustrations, everything. Now when I'm asking a basic question, none of them is able to answer. It means they're only nodding. So this frequent checking, asking questions may not be able to ask all these questions or getting that oral answer. But what you can do is also asking, inviting them in the free time to give the real feedback, genuine feedback. And sometimes you do not get discouraged. How many of we have that kind of generosity to invite students to become very critical about us? We do not like. But again, I'm telling you, it is one of the techniques we have to adopt. Sometimes have to have that big heart, a large heart, to allow the students to critically analyze and say that, sir, what you thought is nothing, it's a hogwash, and it's completely a crap, and I don't agree. Allow that thing. Then you have that kind of that mindset to accept their views. So this feedback will help you to introspect and then think that new practices will do. That's I'm telling you, it's nothing that one formula is there and you will be applying every time that this particular formula you apply, one time you will be successful, the other time you will not be successful. Please remember, you are a messenger. You are sending across that message. And as a messenger, as a communicator, you have to see that three areas. You have to put that three premises. First, one is that you as a messenger, that what you speak. Then what is your content? What is the message that you are conveying? And who are the receivers? Who are the listeners? Who are receiving these messages? These are the students. Now you are, as a messenger, you are flawless. And your message is quite solid and very, very, strong message you want to send across. But the message that the receivers are not able to connect with you. You are not able to create that bond. You are an excellent, teacher, that when it comes to teaching or understanding or conceptual clarity, you are second to none. But unfortunately, the students are not listening because you have not even gauged their mindset in the beginning. You did not create that kind of ambience to connect with them instant. And that is where now, in spite of your good, thorough knowledge of the subject, in spite of your techniques, in spite of your flawless articulation, you are unable to connect with them and they are not able to receive anything that you spoke. But you spoke everything relevant. You spoke well, but no, you are so fond of your own voice, your own articulation, that you in between you did not make any effort to understand how much there is. Therefore, sometimes I feel, again, good communication is not about how fluently or flawlessly you communicate, but it is also sending a strong message, and the message reaches the receivers and they are able to reproduce through that feedback. So whatever you told that we have understood, and you'll be checking that when putting certain questions that in between and getting their answer. And I'm telling that it's quite obvious. Many, they may not be good or fine in responding to your questions there in the classroom, but does not mean they have not understood. If you invite them, have that every time you will take that handout or prepare some questions where you will be taking genuine feedback from them, and have that time management. I do not have to tell all those things. I don't have to be very patronizing telling these. Everybody knows. So you manage your own time. Out of 50 minutes, you think that you will be delivering content 30 minutes, and 20 minutes you'll have that, maybe 10 minutes to keep for feedback. And if you give feedback, random feedback, random sampling kind of thing, give that handout to roll number 13, roll number 7, roll number 21, like that you give randomly and take their feedback. You see what happens. This will also allow you to change your teaching practice or teaching technique or teaching skill and adopt different. The moment you change, again, it is the innovation happens. Innovation means you're allowing yourself to think and create something new. Why would you go and follow some of the practices being told by somebody, me, anybody? You apply this to yourself. Apply that practice. You create. Every time you think critically, you create something and bring your creativity as, again, one of the skills for making a good, effective teaching. So now comes, so these examples from the students' experience you will be taking, and most of the time, again, you have to be slightly careful there in the classroom that you do not overstep that very prejudice or the biasness is concerned. You appreciate, generally you appreciate, but we have a common practice of to take the name of somebody XYZ and appreciate. Here we do more harm to others than doing good. Our intention may be there. Our intention is quite noble that we think we want to appreciate. But I personally believe, how many of you can agree? Now, in the public, you are telling X, Y, Z, I appreciate their work. They have been very, very sincere. Sometimes this is detrimental because half of the class gets demotivated. See example that if your principal tells that and in a general meeting takes the name of 1 or 2 professors and telling that I'm quite impressed with your work and I have become fan of yours. You have done this thing. Maybe your intention is to appreciate these people, acknowledge their contributions. But here 45 members, out of 45 members, you are taking the names of only 5. And those 40 members get demotivated. They will be going next time and telling that what happened, madam was taking the name of these 5 people. What are we not doing? What you get it. But that was not the intent of your principal. So similarly, same way, you are trying to appreciate 1 or 2 students there in the classroom just to motivate others, but sometimes that demotivates them. The selective vision is again very, very detrimental to your life. Again, you make one practice, ensure that you want to appreciate X, Y, Z, call them to your room, to your cabin, and tell really I appreciate your work, your effort, something that commendable, and I sincerely acknowledge your contribution. This is fine. Those 3 students, those who have done well, they feel that you are appreciating them. They get the kind of recognition, acknowledgement, there's no problem. And similarly, you in the classroom, you go that all of you are doing well, and all of you, I know that you are very, very sound, you are gifted one, you are unique. You can do a lot of things and that way. I think this is again one practice everybody should adopt, that not appreciating people there in the public or taking few names. You can say that all of you are doing well. I appreciate that thing, but at the same time, I have some more expectations of you. I want more. So therefore, please do something. You're doing well. I want you to do better. That is a good kind of message that goes. So sometimes you have to see your intention is quite noble, where you want to appreciate people, to motivate them, but it actually does a lot of harm to you. So therefore, that examples or that kind of experiences you'll be taking from the students. Sometimes when you interact with the privately, students will tell, sir, you took the name of that white. Sometimes you are giving somebody's that remark excellent or good in the notebook or in the answer sheet, or sometimes making fun of others, that what have you written. So that is again a practice. And that happens over a period of time that you do learn with experience. Please do that. Students will appreciate you. They'll feel, yes, because these adults know they are very sensitive. They do not want to be pinpointed. They do not want. You allow them to grow intellectually. You allow them to pick their skills. You allow them wholeheartedly. That is why I call it collaboration. That I'm talking about collaborative teaching practice, where equal importance is given to the students, to the learners. The view to be taken. What you are saying is, and while you are saying something, nothing is absolutely right, nothing is absolutely wrong. It's just a point of view. And specifically those who are law professors, in the law, nothing is right, nothing. It's just a point of view, point of argument. And how you carry out your argument and successfully put argument or put your point of view to the bench or convince that one. Again, it is the art of persuasion. You'll have to persuade somebody, convince somebody. And if you can do, you can sell the rotten eggs or rotten potatoes in the market. That is the kind of. So here you have to take these adult learners in confidence, give them amount of confidence, motivate them. And that happens when you take care of little things, not to go overboard, not to be very petty, narrow, or not to be very selective also. Selective appreciation is quite detrimental and reasonable. Active learning, you see that sometimes you know a lot of things, but it's also a good thing to see that you don't have to display your knowledge. There is a saying, or there is one quote by maybe Einstein: if you are not able to explain the things to a 6-year-old, that means you yourself haven't understood. So if you have understood, you simplify the things and make even a 6-year-old boy or girl can understand. That means the purpose is achieved. So similarly, involve the students. So there is saying, you tell, I forget. You teach, I learn. But you involve, you teach, I remember. So you tell, I forget. You teach, I remember. But you involve, I learn. So when you involve students, they learn. You tell that you are one of the leaders of the group. Again, we'll be talking about the project-based learning, where we'll have to segregate. You know that predominantly 2 methods I have. One is lecture, other one is seminar. In lecture, 60 students are there, 70 students are there. That lecture method I'll be adopting there, giving them. I'll just point down and note down some of the points. There on the board. These are the objectives. These are the points of discussion for me today. And step by step, we'll discuss all these things. If I devote that half an hour to discuss all those points, I'll be putting that Q&A session. I'll be giving for 20 minutes, and then each and every question you ask. Then sometimes, some of the things may not be understood by them completely. By the time you put questions and give explanation, and then encourage students to give their point of view, and allow even somebody says something, that is nothing substantial, still you acknowledge, appreciate that, rather than becoming critical. That's how you will be able to motivate these students. I told you, this is again a technique that you have to do, and this comes through experience only. And your own experience is the best master for you, the best guide for you. Active learning, taking them field work. Sometimes, you get a lot of restriction. That's why I'm telling that how many of you are not getting that kind of independence in your in your own college or your educational institutions where lot of restrictions are there, not allowing you to have that independence to prepare your own syllabus or course or design it, curate it, and then put across before the students and then get kind of result. So that kind of amount of intellectual independence to be given to you. If that is not there, for example, your 60 students are there, you are dividing 60 students in different groups, each group consisting of 6 members, ideally. And you are making and giving them work for discussion and all. That is happening suddenly that your head of the department going on the corridor and telling why that kind of noise coming. So that to be discouraged, please. In collaborative learning or active learning, they have to participate actively and there is bound to be some sort of noise. Again, that has to be also understood and appreciated. Then only you will be able to do. So you can say, sir, you are sounding well, you are telling these are the practices we follow, but we have got some restrictions also. We are not allowed even to use these practices there in the classroom. Therefore, we do not get judged. But I am telling that you also adopt horses for the course. You think what techniques work for you. Sometimes do not, you listen to the advice of your head of the department or your principal, whoever your superior, listen to that. But then you do what you think is best for you to give you that results. Do not interject. Do not give counter opinions there in the meeting, telling that I want to do this. No, you see that. Listen to everybody. Now, be a good patient listener. And then you think that you make synthesis of all that, make that analysis, find out what are relevant things for you that you will be able to adopt or whatnot. So that you will be doing continuously, repeatedly, and very, very frequently you will be taking the feedback from the students in terms of written or even oral. Sometimes if they hesitate, you ask them to send that feedback by email. Sometimes I have seen some of the students write very good things about you. You feel very happy and allow them to say something. Nobody likes that kind of criticism. So if we do not like criticism, we know that if at any point in time we become critical towards the students or their views, they would also not appreciate. That has to be also kept in mind. Now, what are the characteristics that I'm telling the adult learners? So here the teachers can improve, seeing that what are the experiences or the mindset of the students, normally what they like, what they do not like. That has to be also taken into consideration, especially that that will improve, because if you are going to be a life learner, when not teaching learning process, you are not only a teacher, but you are also a learner. So you respect the views of students and do not have a presumption that you have come. At times also it is necessary for you to have that these are all ignorant about the topic that I am going to talk about. That you think also first. This. At the same time, see that as you progress, you see that break that presumption. In the beginning, to start with, they're all ignorant. I will enlighten them. That is one presumption. Second, you change immediately. The moment you introduce, moment you allow them to understand that what you are introducing this today, what topic you are talking about, and put indirect questions. They will be talking about what am I talking about? If I talk about the legislative, judiciary, and executive, and I talk about this work in tandem or work in separation. So let the student guess, sir, you are going to teach us the separation of power, because the separation of power is also one of the modules there in your syllabus. And today you are going and talking about that the function of the executive is to execute all the rules, policies, that regulations, and the function of the legislative is to prepare or bring laws or legislate, and judiciary is to see that taking care of the common people or citizens, their fundamental. So then what am I talking about? You are putting a question, and then students are again, sir, you are talking about separation of power. So that kind of stimulation. And again, it is a simulation, because that you are creating a setting for this kind of discussion. So you are creating an ambience. So that again, that happens, no? So therefore, characteristics you have to learn, that understanding the basic characteristics normally that adult learners, what they are doing, that no, these are 4 characteristics normally you will find that in adult learner. There are some of the voluntary learners, very respectful. Some are thinking of collaborative and contextual. These 4 characteristics, remember, in adult learners: voluntary, respectful, collaborative, and contextual. Now, what is voluntary? Where you see that participation. Normally, there are some students, they voluntarily come and they participate in the learning. And what happens that the more you engage these people, the more they become participating. So they will be comfortable. So what you will do that they adults they do not want every now and then handholding. They want to develop new skills. What that newness, novelty, that innovation you are bringing to your teaching. They want to sharpen their existing skills, existing knowledge. And if they understand that what you are telling, they already know, and you are not adding anything to their knowledge store, they will find it boring. So again, the tone and tenor, creating that ambience, all the aspects to be taken in that going together, that in the effective instruction. What you will do is to understand and creating in the first place, creating kind of ambience, understanding that what new skills you will be giving them, so that they adopt. And then students genuinely understand that this is something new for them. And they have come with one goal, what new you are going to teach. And now it is much more difficult for you with the advent of this AI and other tools. That would be always making your life difficult, because they will all the time they will be going through that one. And I think you should not discourage that. That practice you allow. But what you can do is that one practice you will have to do, giving them some kind of preliminary exercise for the discuss. You tell this I want, this is the reading material for you, teach. And do that, follow this technique religious, giving them some kind of handouts. Tell this is the case, or this is the problem, or this is the issue, or this is a point of discussion that we'll be discussing tomorrow in the classroom. And XYZ, I want that there will be 3, 4, 5 groups, and you please choose your own partners, have groups, and discuss it. Tomorrow I will be allowing you to come here and present your point of views, and that will be a kind of small group discussion. You will be giving them. So they know, suddenly they get motivated that, okay, I feel important now. So that in the eyes of that teacher, I am somebody who can do something there. And then they get kind of confidence and conviction out of nowhere. And then they have come with this one to sharpen their skills. Even somebody has that existing skills, want to brush up the skills, sharpen it, and hone those skills. So you are giving them that kind of guidance. You are providing them kind of facility, because you are a facilitator. Teacher is nothing but a facilitator. Wants to facilitate and learn that active learning, not passive. You are a passive teacher. Teacher is going to play a passive role. Active role is going to be played by the student. Student will do most of the active, play the active role there in the classroom, rather than you just trigger. You just give that kind of point. Let them carry forward. You just put that a point, or just give them kind of lead, and they will be taking it forward. This is what we are talking about. And then they will get a different kind of insight into the discussion, and encourage their insight, encourage their point of view. When they say something, don't know, you outrightly not nip them in the bud. Rather, you allow them to put across their point of view, and in a very mild way say, even if you know that sometimes somebody says something that is your nonsense, but what you will do, you will tell, okay, it's your point of view, and I appreciate that point of view. Let us do slightly differently. I know that your point of view is fine, but let me add to this, or we'll take somebody else's point of view. So this way, they'll be getting different insights, and you will be bringing different insights, different perspectives to the discussion. They usually highly motivated to learn and are willing to engage in participatory learning, and you are not allowing, you are speaking all the time. Right now, I am speaking, which normally I think this practice is not good practice at all. But since most of the listeners are not very comfortable to unmute themselves and speak, therefore I am doing bulk of the talk, or rather almost all talking I am doing. But that's not how the thing should go. Things should be always that interaction. You give a part, sir, I'm sorry to say that I have a different point of view, or I have something to add to this discussion. I give a different perspective. That's how we'll be encouraging to find different insights into the discussion. And usually that's how you'll be doing. They are not the kids. Mind you, you are teaching all the adult learners. Those are 18, 19-year-old. And even some of the students will be studying, teaching there in the law, mature people, even the practicing lawyers. But you allow their thoughts to flow in, allow their insights to come into the discussion. They will be more motivated, they'll be pumped with that kind of confidence, and that will also add value to the discussion or simulations, and that will be done, making the small, segregate those people in small groups. And this way, if you do not do, they are very quick to withdraw their participation. And once you say something, okay, stop, and you see. Normally, it's the normal habit of us. We tell that I encourage your suggestion. The moment somebody says critical things about you, you immediately you get. But I think you need to have a big heart there to acknowledge and say, rather than sweeping under the carpet, sometimes you should have that courage to say, okay, I could be wrong. I got this misconception. I was under impression this is what right, but you have given me different perspective. Thank you so much for enlightening me. Thank you so much for giving that information. That person feels very happy, and the complete session, he is going to be very sincere. He is going to even say some good things about you and motivate indirectly other students to come to the class. And that is ultimately your purpose. So these adults are, so you'll have to be slightly careful to understand their quality, and then respect. Some are there very mutual respect for it. That's what I was talking about, mutual respect for each other. You outrightly do not demean somebody's point of view, or do not discourage somebody, or do not say that what you are saying is not relevant. Rather, in a very tactful way, you handle the things that you have a point of view, and that is something. But here slightly you need a little bit of help, and if you can take some more suggestion from me, add then this suggestion, add this suggestion into your discussion may be much more fruitful. So then that student feels very happy that yes, what there, sir, I have, even if he's saying something that makes no sense, but try to appreciate that one. So that's something, respect for each other. And you have to see that here we are all learners, we are all, I have come here only, I have a senior participant, I am here participating on the capacity of a teacher, but you are participating in the capacity of students. And we both are participants, but only the difference is that here I am senior to you and you are junior, but sometimes the senior's point of view may be incorrect. So your point of view. So that kind of mutual respect will also motivate them. Again, I am telling you this, please remember, this is again a technique we all know, but we do not practice religiously. We do not practice it, regularly. Therefore, it's difficult, but essential task for the teacher is establishing a classroom climate. I'm telling that comfort level, that ambience. You are creating kind of ambience where they are all excited, pumped up to put across their point of view. At times, the classroom looks very, sounds vociferous because a little bit of noise, but that is effective. And that serves your purpose. At least 60 students, attending, listening indirectly the discussion, that goes well. And this comes collaborative. I told you that where you say that student and teachers are engaged in collaborative effort, that collaboration is appropriate in course and class design, where you see that what, and collaboration happens from there, where you started giving them the handouts for feedback, or giving them some forms for feedback. From there, you are engaging them in this one. They would be telling that, sir, instead of keeping these modules, please put all that things. So sometimes you find also one representative from the students. You see, you take one average student or take one good student from the class any free time. Ask them that this is what. No, that student feels happy that you are involving that student or maybe a couple of students in designing the course and telling that I was instrumental in creating this course along with sir. So let him feel important, let her feel important and give them that kind of recognition. So that is how the collaboration happens. And again, he is your messenger. He goes there or she is your messenger, goes there and tells that this is what going to happen that in our teaching learning process and that collaboration. So collaboration is again, it's very, very constant. It involves reordering priorities. When you take them in confidence, you take them on board. That means that allows your job becomes easier. Then you modify, and we are all very, very orthodox. We are very rigid with our thought process. I'm telling applicable to me as well. We are very rigid with regard to our thought process. We do not outrightly accept something, but try to accept, reorder your priorities. So what technique you followed today actually did not give you the result. It happens. Every day not a good day for you. Now you are an excellent teacher, but you find some odd day that's a bad day for you as far as your teaching is concerned. That day you do everything wrong. Nothing goes right, and that happens to everybody. So just it's one day or maybe one occasion. That is not going to be a precedence for you, or that not going to be a practice. So this collaboration, I think it again constant practice that you have to follow so that you'll be able to reorder your priorities and refocus your teaching learning process and also modify some of the activities. And I am not suggesting at any point of time telling some of the examples, but I'm not telling what all activities you'll be carrying out there in the classroom, because you are sovereign in the classroom. You are the supreme authority as far as the class is concerned. So you are presumably the master of all. You are the master of all, which you know everything. You are the expert one. So you have to go with this kind of conviction, but same time take them in confidence, take them on board, right from that designing the course, the objectives, the outcomes, even the modules, and giving a question bank, creating that question bank. So what questions do you want? I'll tell you that in the assessment, normally that in the beginning, you would be giving that kind of independence to the students. Tell me how you want to be assessed. Somebody who is quite articulate. I have seen some of the students. I am sure that many of you must have come across some of the students in your classroom that they are very good when it comes to oral, verbal communication. They speak well. They give their point of view. The same person will not be able to write that effectively there in the examination. You think, oh my goodness, whenever he speaks, that he speaks well and he articulates his point of view with clarity, with conviction, with confidence. But why doesn't he write anything? I have seen so many students, I have even noted down these students, but then I am not painting all of them with one brush. I want Hershey's for the courses. I will be devising different assessment plan for that student or for those students, those who want to be assessed on their knowledge through that verbal communication or through articulation, that different debates or extempore or any kind of seminar or presentation. That way I'll be giving that course assessment plan. This is called CAP. What is the course assessment plan would be there? Whether you want seminar for those students, you want a presentation for those students, you want a written assignment from other students. So this what you will be devising. So therefore you give some amount of independence to the student, tell that how you want to be evaluated, how you want to be assessed. But at the same time, again, I know that restriction, you have a end term that is well defined, written examination of this one. But at the same time, again, you discuss that if written exams are purely written examination of 100 marks, you categorize the question patterns. Right from the beginning, you discuss that even I think questions or the question patterns would be also that part of your course design. You keep some questions also, exemplary questions, essay type questions, short type questions, MCQs, some examples you keep over there. And side by side, each module may put those questions. You see that where the students stand as far as understanding is concerned. Whether you are testing their understanding, comprehension, whether you are testing that critical thinking, whether you are testing that their analytical ability, evaluation, assessment, all that things will be doing together. So holistic, you see that holistic development of student, that is the prime motto of each and every teacher. And the moment you achieve those outcomes, even 80% outcomes, that you think that you have done an excellent job. So that is what I'm telling. So you'll have to do that. Now creating a contextual, that education again involves that exploring ideas, skills, knowledge, attitudes, and you will find somebody who doesn't know everything under the sun, but has that kind of passion to know everything. So that is the kind of attitude. So each and every teacher appreciates that the attitude of a student or the learner when shows that enthusiasm to learn but doesn't know anything, ignorance. And ignorance is the first step towards knowledge. You want to know something, you show your ignorance, you know nothing about this. And then you want to learn something. That is the first step towards your knowledge. So similarly, what you see that explore your ideas, your knowledge and attitude. As a teacher, you will have to also see what attitude these students do have. Whether the student is passionate, wants to know something, want to have that kind of curiosity, want to learn something or not. Or maybe there's some students you find very, very arrogant, showing that overconfidence. Sometimes you have to handle tactful. Sir, how do I handle those students? You have to handle very tactful. Better sometimes you say something, you strike the controversy. Unnecessarily, there will be a wrangle. There will be a lot of discussion. Unnecessarily, hot discussion between you or student. Avoid that one. So it's better to, sometimes if speech is silver, silence is gold. It's better to be silent, quiet. Even somebody wants to put in a different pedestal, telling that you know nothing, at least you have to have that big heart to say, okay, I am not means in terms of knowledge, I'm not as good as you are. Fine, do that. So avoid that one. So that again comes with that experience and being very, very tactful. You have to handle the situation tactfully. But exploration doesn't take place in vacuum. Adults learn new concepts, skills, attitude by assigning meaning to them in the context of their previous experience. And you will be telling recapitulation. Every now and then recapitulate some of the things you taught. And just create a context. Create a context that will create a scenario, create a situation. Even you bring that kind of case study also. Case study method is one. You bring that case study method in your teaching and tell this is the thing and what your understanding is. You create a context and then you give another kind of exercise, give different proposition and see that how they are able to analyze or able to apply their knowledge into that. So this learning process is always cyclical. So they learned so many things, they have to unlearn now to pick the new things. The learner becomes acquainted with new ideas and skills, applies these ideas and his experience with these new skills and concepts, and redefines, gives a new perspective to that entire thing. And that's what we are talking about research. Research is a continuous process. Research is a methodical study. Research never happens in random study. Research is always a very systematic study. And that's why I would tell you, we follow that methods, techniques, following research. And it is a continuous process. So allow that research to come in play. How it comes in play? Because you encourage the students to give their idea, their perspective. And I'm telling that I, as a researcher, given one perspective that you the next researcher you bring and you challenge my perspective, you give a different point of view, different perspective. You give different insight into this particular topic. That is clear. That's why research is a never-ending process. It is a continuous process, and therefore you appreciate the ideas of others and create a context. And then the moment, for example, you encourage certain students, they create a context and now take the discussion point. Again, that class, that particular session will be very, very fruitful and successful. So now these are I told you these are the 4 characteristics that are associated with the adult learners. And Marilyn Weymouth explores 5 components of effective, as far as effective teaching or effective instruction is concerned. Again, various people are given various components of effective instruction, but it is again a relative concept of because a lot of research review tells that that the components coming to that enthusiasm or just for teaching, that I have already covered that one, telling that unless you are excited about your content, if you are a marketing executive, if you are not very, very excited about your product, others are not going to show any interest in buying that one. You go as a marketing executive, sell a rotten product, but if you are able to show that enthusiasm, you can show that kind of zeal, you are excited about that product, and you talk about all the positive components of the product that stimulates the buyer to purchase that one. Similarly, you are coming to the classroom, that bringing that kind of enthusiasm, the spark, you bring that tinge of freshness to your teaching, and you create a kind of persona there in the classroom, and stimulate the students, and then they'll be very excited about it. Whatever you teach, even a dull subject, you don't tell, sorry, I'm going to teach a boring topic. That creating a very, very wrong premise. That premise is a flawed one. So you don't have to do that one. Everything, that it's the most boring components of your syllabus, still you are excited about that one. Sometimes, I know teachers are great actors when it comes to classroom. They may not be that great when it comes to public speaking or public places. They may not, but I'm telling you, I know the teachers, most of the teachers, for me, almost 100% teachers are great actors. They go to the classroom, they create a kind of melodrama, scene over there. They act, they do a lot of body gestures, hand movements, and all that. They're great actors in the classroom, and they connect instantly with the students. So therefore, I'm telling, there are some very, very enthusiastic, even if you have a lot of things to handle, you have a lot of extraneous things to tackle. But when you go to the classroom, you know that 15 minutes, you give your best shot in that 15 minutes. Whether you are a young professor or an old professor, you know that you have to do justice to your job. And your primary focus is that effective teaching. And therefore, one of the components of effective teaching is that bringing kind of enthusiasm in your tone and tenor that you speak. You are excited about that. You are not looking dull at any point in time. You are very, very excited. You are quite joyful, and people say that it is joyful learning. You are bringing the best out of the students, making them alert. They'll be sitting on the edge of their seats and listening to you. But that kind of motivation, that kind of spark will bring, that kind of ignition we will be bringing to the classroom, so that they're all pumped up, understand. So that is one enthusiasm. Everybody knows, I don't have to tell you. Another important component of this effective instruction is preparation or organization. Sometimes we become complacent. We say that whatever knowledge we have is adequate to handle this student. Sir, what should I do? Why should I improve my knowledge now? I think whatever my existing knowledge is sufficient to handle these students, because these students know nothing. Sometimes we become complacent. We take the things for granted, but that's a wrong precedence. I think we have to be very, very systematic. We have to be very methodical. We start one small module and with objectives. Go to the classroom, tell that these are the objectives of my lecture today. 50 minutes I'll be speaking on these components. and one by one you'll be taking and asking them and encouraging them to note down the important points. Again, we normally don't do that. Again, I'm telling there we miss the point. We do not tell the students that how important it is for them to note down certain points, because we are saying something they may not be able to Google, they may not be able to find from any online platforms what you are saying. So also make that happens when you make a proper preparation of your course design. Give questions, no, they'll not get straightforward answer there on Google. So for that, you have to spend sufficient time in your preparation. That's what I am talking about, preparation or organization. You have to be very, very organized. You have to be well sorted person as a teacher. So effective teacher plans, and you have a plan A, B, C. Even if you go, do not take anything for granted. Do not presume that everybody is ignorant and I will befool them in that classroom. That mindset you never bring to your teaching at all. Again, I think many sessions might have been taken there on ethics for teaching practice. So you have to be very, very ethical. And integrity is, again, I'm telling that doing something when you are not being watched. Nobody is watching you, but you know that you have come and you will be giving substance to the class there in that 50 minutes. How you do that? Without plan, you come and talk anything and everything. Students also, they will not be able to connect with you. And then later on, he's very knowledgeable, but what he says we could not connect. We could not relate. He said a lot many things. You are so great in speaking. You was excellent in communicating, but we could not relate because your end is not there. The end is not met. The purpose has not been achieved. So therefore, if you plan out systematically, this is what I'll be. These will be my questions, and I will also take the feedback and systematically. So that means right from the beginning, when you are designing the course with the objectives, outcomes, questions, pattern, assessment plan, course assessment plan, how you will be assessing them, what will be the first end of the month, what we will be testing their knowledge, what kind of questions should be giving them, how we'll be making that MCQs in Google Forms. So all these things you could do, it takes lot of your time, but then you plan. If you do so, student would always appreciate. They'll tell that, okay, even if 4 or 5 students is sitting in the classroom, that teacher comes with well preparation, very, very organized, everything in place, all very, very systematic way comes, and even providing handouts, your own handwriting. And nowadays, you take a print out all the things and tell these are the points jotted down. Sometimes help them. And you tell that even if you're not writing there in your diary, but take it, separate in your diary and keep that one. These are all important points. And in the end of the month, if you make some questions out of what lecture you have given, that will be allowing them to remain on their toes. They will be very, very alert, because they know that from the discussion that sir or madam has discussed those points there in the classroom, giving questions from those only, will not be finding anywhere these questions. Then they would be very, very alert and vigilant. They will not miss your lecture. Again, by adopting this technique, not 100% sure that many are going to attend. But I am telling this is one way also that you will be able to practice and do. So preparation is very, and there you will be identifying, I have already told you all these things, objectives, their students should be able to know and they will be able to do at the end of the course, that is called outcomes, and choose materials, books, and everything. Even today, my lecture predominantly involves that from the articles of Harvard Law Review or Oxford Law Review or ILI, something like that. You tell them where your primary or secondary sources that you are talking about. At least they will be able to connect. They'll read. So you tell that which textbooks you are also referring to, which are the articles you are referring to, which are the articles or books or readings that reading materials you are suggesting your students to do. So they will be able to see whatever you did. You say that in the classroom, they'll connect with that nothing by reading all those suggested materials. So that you'll have to do, and that happens only you make the planning. So pick up the variety of teaching, learning activities, whether it is lecture, sometimes discussion, sometimes seminar. Seminar may you are identifying that 15 days I'll do, and now 60 students are there. I will be making 10 groups, each group of 6. I want that coming Saturday, I will take your presentation. So on the same topic, they'll be presenting that one. You see, your work will be much easier and you will get that kind of results. I don't think that would be a problem at all. So in this case, that planning and preparation organization. Now coming that stimulating students, their thought and interest. How will be that? I have covered that you are a motivator. You are inspiring students to, and once they are inspired to come and do self-motivated, adult learners know that what substance or what content you will be delivering to them, how this is going to help them to pick up new skills, and they will always appreciate and they'll not miss your task. And different students learn best in different ways. Again, you have to see, I have already covered that one. Somebody quite articulate, somebody is a good listener, somebody speaks well, somebody observes something, all that different students learn in different ways. So you have to also identify accordingly, you mold your practices and use your techniques to the situations to get the best out of them. And if you are doing that, means again you are a successful teacher. That teacher's success is counted only when majority of students appreciate your teaching methodology and they do well also. Again, how that will be substantiated in the end, that when results are well, that you see that excellent results from that. You see that you have done, and now students have given that. So research shows that if you are active learning method, always facilitates, give them, taking them, understanding the parliament, how parliament functions. You take them on a field trip. It sometimes it's a fun. Take the students to go for a client counseling. Tell them to the nearby village. They'll go. They will enlighten. They will update. They will orient those people the basics of that law. That how law is going to protect them. Or what are the things? How they will be taking care of their fundamental rights. What are their fundamental rights? What are the duties? How they can approach to the court and all. So all these things you take the students. They'll orient. And then they get kind of exposure. So this is again field trip. This is again one kind of environment where you will be stimulating their interest and thought. So every time stereotype method, you'll be going classroom, lecture, following, saying, they'll be fed up. Give them some kind of activity. For that, I know the hindrances, obstacles. Your head of the department or your principal may not be that encouraging, but then you have to find out the ways and means to adopt that one. And explaining clearly, again, one important component is that stimulating that. But whatever you say with that clarity, thought, there is nothing ambiguous. Then one way for teachers to judge student understanding is look, they are non-verbal, that their body language. There somebody in the rest, there's somebody doing that. We don't bother about that one. No, that is not, that means you're not explaining clearly. And sometimes you find that they will be looking at you very quizzical way, as if they are confused. So you understand from their body language and then stop over there. Put a question. Okay, confusion? Let me explain it. Let me explain. Let me simplify it. Other way this. Then ask it. What do you understand? Then please explain. A peer learning comes in. Because that person, that boy, comes and he gives his point of view out of whatever he has understood, he explains it. Then that sometimes what you say to the student may not be able to understand, whereas that the same thing will be explained by a fellow student, then understand. If his friend or her friend explains something, understand. That is where the peer learning. And please encourage this peer learning. We talk about collaborative learning, again, allow them to have respect for each other. Another teachers to assess their students' confusion, ask questions, again feedback, or a gentle involve yourself to know what the confusion point is. And the last component we are talking about, knowledge, is the key. You have the subject knowledge and you love of the content. You show that you are the master of that particular subject. That comes. A good teacher know and love their subject. And teachers must understand the theory, structure, key details of subject, that in and out of the subject. Very, very effective way helping students to learn. And questioning. Knowing the content is not enough to be an excellent teacher. In addition, what you do, effective teachers love their subject and communicate that love to their students. Again, empathy, compassion, that kind of benevolence, that kind of understanding, creating that kind of bond. They will wholeheartedly accept you. Acceptance is the first step towards learning. And that happens. So these are all the things. And with this, I have come to the end of the session. And thank you so much, everybody. If you have any specific questions, I'll be happy to answer. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir, for your enlightening session with us. Do we have any questions from the participants for this session and the resource person? They may just unmute themselves and have their questions. I guess so today all the participants are getting satisfied with the resource persons and they don't have any questions arising out of the sessions.
That is one presumption. Other presumption is that they have not.
Even I can understand the presumption which you want to give. Even, sir, we have just taken the Sunday as one of the working days for this refresher course because your session and one other professor, because of the same issues, they had postponed sessions. True. So
Thank
I guess
so much. Thank
sir,
you so much. Thank you,
there are no more
organizers
questions
and the knowledge partners giving me this opportunity. I really appreciate. Thank you so much, everybody.
Sir, moving towards the formal vote of thanks, I would like to thank the resource person today, Professor Bose, for taking this session on a very short notice, because last evening we just informed him that we are going to have your session today. And on behalf of Barkatullah University, through its Department of Legal Studies and Research, Bhopal, and Droid Penal Group, a unit of Arjun Das Gulati Memorial Society, in collaboration with Guru Angad Dev Teaching Learning Center, a prime center of Pandit Madan Mohan Malya National Mission on Teachers and Teaching, Ministry of Education, Government of India. We are privileged to have you with us, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.